Live from the beautiful sun-kissed island of Kauai, it's Animal Talking. Today, join Gary and his guests, Tom Nichols, Bleszinski, and LDShadowLady. And now, still not brought to you by Chicken and a Biscuit, here's your host, Gary Whitta.
Blew my cue right off the bat. Blew it right off the bat, Adam. Right off the bat.
That's great.
Listen, Adam. Here's what you do. Here's what you do on this show. We know we're going to make a mistake, so you get it out of the way early. That's what you do.
Yeah.
That's what you do.
Yeah.
Now we're done.
You're right.
Now we're done. And I give guests so much grief for missing their marks on this show. Here's the weird thing, Adam. I know I was in the right place. Like I say, here's what I do. I set myself up right here. I have the camera right here like this. I got my dramatic angle, and then I walk out at the right pace. Look at this. Look at that. I got my walking pace all set up. And I think what happened was when I sat my controller down, I accidentally got too close to the stairs and nudged myself back up the stairs. I treoed. I Danny Trejo'd. That is now the thing on the set. So, well, I hope you enjoyed our little backstage glimpse there. That if you caught that live, oh my God, I don't know if we can even cut that out of the Joy-Con drift. Let's blame it on Joy-Con drift. Kevin Shingles in the chat says Joy-Con drift. I think that's right. It's all drift. Let's blame Nintendo for that one. Adam, how are you, sir?
I'm doing pretty good. How about yourself?
I'm good. How was your weekend?
It was long. It's still a weekend here.
It is? What's going on in Canada?
Well, that's why I'm dressed like this.
Oh, what? Okay, no, okay. Every show you do something with your wardrobe that is beyond my comprehension. Can you please tell me what is going on today?
It is, if I'm correct, I don't know. Hopefully, I'm not getting this wrong. But in Canada, it is Victoria Day, which is some sort of celebration of the Queen. Maybe?
Okay. Our own dear Queen, Elizabeth II. Absolutely, very nice. Well, it's a new day. It's a new week. This is actually the last week ever. This is a momentous week in the history of Animal Talking, Adam. This is actually the last week ever that we will do 3 shows a week. After this week, we'll be on hiatus for a week. We're going to take the last week in May off, and then we'll be back in June, first week in June, with a new schedule, which will probably involve one show a week, and that's going to be, and we'll have more information about the new schedule going forward. You might notice that over here, she's very inscrutable. She's not going to say very much right now. DJ Cupcakes is here with us on the show, spinning the platters that matter, and she's going to be hitting us with a DJ set a little bit later in the show. Now, a couple of things. You might notice that up in the corner here, we have a new logo. Adam, thanks very much for our new logo. You've added basically the same logo, but you've added a little subscribe chyron at the bottom there. We are trying to get people over to the YouTube channel. So, if you watch the shows live, as you are right now here on Twitch, wonderful. We're very glad to have you here. But if you want to watch the shows at your leisure, on demand, so to speak, you can go to youtube.com/gwhitta, GWHITTA, just like it says right there on the screen. And you can get full episodes. You can get, and beyond full episodes, we have other things too. We have clips, we have highlights. We cut out the musical numbers and the stand-up comedy bits and place them all there, so you can kind of enjoy Animal Talking a la carte, so to speak. And every episode comes with its own highlight reel as well. So if you want to watch the whole episode, you can. But if you just want to watch like 10 minutes of edited highlights put together by Adam over here, very, very brilliantly done, you can go there. youtube.com/gwhitta. That's the place to go for on-demand episodes, highlights, and much, much more. Adam, are you in the turnip market this week? Did you buy any turnips yesterday?
I have a full load.
Of course you do. Of course you do.
How about yourself?
I'm not. You know what? I'm so busy. It's not that I don't want the money. I do. You know how much I like them bells. I'm all about them bells. And as I often say, TREAM, turnips rule everything around me. I want to increase my multi-billionaire status. But I just don't have the time to mess around, looking for dodo codes this week. I just don't have the time. This is the first week I'm out of the market this week. I'm out of the market. No turnips for me.
So if you get a code,
Oh, you still want me to look out for a code for you?
Yes.
All right. I'll see what I can do. I noticed that former guest and friend of the show, Justine, has been going nuts with the turnips. So she posted some pictures on Twitter over the weekend. Like her entire island is like a massive field of turnips. It looked like she bought multiple loads.
Oh yeah, it's like completely covered, it looks like.
And I also noticed, Adam, that she's been sending you quite a few things in the mail. It's almost like you're pen pals now. She's sending me anything, by the way. This is all you.
Yeah,
I'm not offended or anything, but I mean, it seems like you two have become mail buddies, sending each other gifts in the mail all the time.
Yeah, it all started as I was just kind of sending her garbage as a funny joke, but every single time I've sent her something, she has outdone me, which, culminated in the literal mailing of a poo to me yesterday.
Where are all those emote sounds coming from? Is that someone screwing around upstairs?
What emotes?
I'm getting a lot of emote sounds right now, and I feel like the capture card is out of sync. Hold on, let me try something real quick. Yeah, capture card's out of sync. Hold on a second. Stand by. Here we go. Nothing is messed up. Well, that is. We have to fix that card. Hold on a second. What a way to start the show. Stand by. We're going to reboot the capture card.
I think it's brilliant.
Oh, by the way, this is another reason to watch on YouTube. You won't know any of this stuff ever happened. You will not know any of this stuff ever happened.
Sometimes they get left in.
Oh my god. Oh my. Yeah, sometimes just for fun. All right, let me bring the
volume.
volume.
My mistakes.
Hold on. Let's try this again. Hold on. Oh my god. Adam, we work so hard to get this show where it needs to be. Hold on, clap. There we go. Okay, we got it. We got the sound back. All right. Okay, we're good. All right. There's a lot of exciting things happening in the world of Animal Crossing this week. I just noticed that there's a you see about this stamp rally? Isabel's promoting this. I got to go talk to Blathers. There's some kind of stamp rally going on. I got to check that out.
Oh yeah.
What do you think about
I'm
that?
excited for that.
Does that interest you?
Yeah, it interests me because I've been collecting all the stuff for the museum, but I literally have not gone into a single one of the exhibits yet.
Yeah, I got to check that out. We have some amazing guests lined up for you today, and some amazing guests lined up on Wednesday as well. Wednesday's show, the evening. We do a show on Monday mornings, Friday mornings, and Wednesday evenings. Wednesday's show, we have a really big show lined up. Duncan Jones, who was on the show previously, but we had problems with his audio. We fixed that. He figured out what was wrong with the audio. We fixed it. Duncan Jones is going to be on the show Wednesday night. Comedian Paul Scheer will be here with us as well on the show Wednesday night. And musical guest, the Dapper Rapper, will be blowing us away with his flows and extemporaneous freeform rap lyrics. He's going to be blowing us away, taking requests from the chat. That's all going to be happening on Wednesday night. And very, very excited I am about that too. We do have a special set from DJ Cupcakes coming up very soon as well. Adam, we managed to pack a massive amount of mistakes into the first 5 minutes of the show. It's impressive. Let's see if we can keep that up. Very impressive. You've set the bar high early. Now, I'm going to ask you to step out for a moment so I can get behind my desk. Thank you very much. Thank you. Because it is time. It is time to bring on my first guest, and I'm very excited about our first guest. I wanted to try and do something a little bit different. We've had a lot of celebrities on the show. We've had actors, filmmakers, musicians, streamers, all kinds of interesting people. But I wanted to bring my next guest onto the show because he's a really, really fascinating person. He's an academic. He's an intellectual. He is, get this, Adam, this is a very, very impressive sounding title. He is Professor of National Security Affairs at the U.S. Naval War College. And he's a fascinating guy who I follow on Twitter often. And I'm really, really interested to talk to him on the show today, and especially about his book, which I find really, really interesting. Please welcome to the show my first guest, Professor Tom Nichols.
Gary.
What a flourish! Tom, take a load off. Take a seat on the couch. Professor Tom Nichols, thank you so much for joining us on the show today.
Thanks for having me. Great to be with you.
You can stop clapping at him. He's impressive, but you don't have to go over the top. All right, thank you. Tom, first of all, I have to ask you, do you have any idea what you've gotten yourself into here?
It's starting to dawn on me, and I'm hoping that this is really either the capstone or the end of my career. It's going to be one or the other.
I mean, and so say we all. That's true. That's true for all of us here. So, Tom, I wanted to have you on the show because I mentioned this to you when we did our little pre-interview. You know, I love the West Wing, and there was a great line in an episode of the West Wing when President Bartlett, who's a Democrat president, invites a Republican to come work on his team. And I think it's the Leo McGarry character who says, the president likes smart people who disagree with him. And I always thought that was a really good line. And you are a very smart person whom I often disagree with. Politically, you're much more, kind of ideologically conservative. I'm very progressive. We disagree on a lot of things. Now, I'll say this. This is a politics-free zone. So we're not going to get too much into politics or anything like that. But I know we disagree on things like Greta Thunberg, and we disagree very, very on the issue. But I got to get this one out of the way. What is the deal with you and Indian food? You started like a Twitter firestorm when you spoke out against Indian food, which frankly is the most delicious food on the planet. What is your problem with Indian food? Before we get into the real stuff, I've got to clear this up.
Oh dear God, of all the things I have ever said in my life, I mean, I have people from the left and the right who are mad at me because I kind of, don't fit into either of those categories.
Yeah, you've managed to annoy everybody, not just like one half of the food, everybody.
But nothing could top waking up and finding out that you had totally aggravated 1 billion people. That was, the high watermark. I mean, I woke up because I'd made a comment on Twitter that was not only that I didn't like Indian food, but I said, Indian food is terrible and we pretend it isn't. And people jumped all over me for saying, oh, you're saying that everybody who likes it is lying. And I was mostly thinking of my colleagues who always, when we're out in Boston, they say, let's go for Indian food. And then they're like sweating and they're wiping the sweat off their face because the food is so hot. And I would always say to them, you can't possibly be having a good time. This looks like work, and that's all I meant. And I woke up the next morning and I was like this media friend. I was in the BBC. I was on Russian television. I was in all the Indian newspapers. And I thought, a whole lifetime of work and offending people in one way or another. And it's going to be on my tombstone, didn't like Vindaloo.
Well,
and
Indian food is not.
Yeah,
it doesn't begin and end with. It doesn't begin and end with Vindaloo, Tom. You could have a korma. That's quite mild. You maybe you'd like something, a little milder.
Gary, I have been to. I actually have taken everyone's advice. The last time I was in London, in fact, I went to a really well-known. I went to Chutney Mary's and by myself because a friend suggested it to me, and I told the waiter, I said, I'm not really into spicy, but hey, you picked my dishes. I'll eat whatever you think is great here. And I just look, I'm from New England. We think boiled potatoes are a little on the racy side if we have too much salt on them. Like lobster is getting out on the far end, and it just my taste buds aren't organized that way. But oh my God, it told you something about how connected our world is. That this overweight middle-aged professor in a small town in Rhode Island suddenly became like more dreaded than Spectre for 2 days. You really poked the beast. I said about food.
Here's I mean, we'll get onto the real talk in a second, but just to close this subject out, I think anytime something happens like this, it's all very silly. Like, these big arguments on the internet, what's the right way to cut a grilled cheese, or, and people go, well, that's the wrong way. Like, just let people like what they like and mind your own business. Why does there have to be one right way to do anything?
I had people telling me to die. I had hate mail.
Seems reasonable.
People, I got hate mail that was like, political level. I have argued with, Putinists in Russia. I have gone after Assad in Syria. I have argued with, Bernie fans and Trump fans both. And here I was all of a sudden opening these emails saying, you're a terrible person. You should die because you don't like curry.
Congratulations on winning Twitter, I guess. You finally found the one subject that made everybody hate you.
Oh, it's global. I mean, I still think anybody who says, "Oh, I made everybody mad on Twitter," I always tell them, until you've reached an entire subcontinent, you're a mere rank amateur.
Let's get into the real stuff. Professor Tom Nichols, you are indeed Professor of National Security Affairs at the U.S. Naval War College. That is a very, very impressive title. And I don't know much about the real world, but I read a lot of, bad books and I watch a lot of movies. You sound a little bit like you're a real life Jack Ryan. How accurate is that description?
I am totally Jack Ryan, except for not being a Marine or handsome, and being Harrison Ford. First, I should say, by the way, I don't represent the Naval War College, of course, even though I work there. Yeah, I mean, Jack Ryan taught at the Naval Academy and the Naval War College, and he does Russia stuff, which was my beat. I'm actually, by training, I'm a Russia expert. Going all the way. I'm old enough to actually say I was trained as a Soviet expert. So that's how far back I go. I worked in Washington and all that stuff. But, one of the things about that background is I have a pretty typical background for anybody kind of who did what I did in the 80s and 90s and then teaches in a military institution. So there's a lot of Jack Ryans out there. I wish I were slim and handsome and had a cool voice like Harrison Ford, but that's about where the comparison ends.
I mean, it is a very, very impressive and cool sounding institution. I imagine, there'd be a Hollywood movie set inside the U.S. Naval War College. What in fact is it? And specifically with you, who are your students and why does the government send them to you?
Well, it sounds like such a, it sounds like something that, where you take courses in regime destabilization and, global overthrow 101. But it's actually the Naval War College is the oldest of its kind. It was set up in the 1880s, and the students are mid to senior level military officers. And what they're doing is they're coming out of whatever their operational specialty is, right? Like we'll get a naval officer who's been flying helicopters, and we give them a master's degree in national security affairs, strategic studies. So instead of just flying helicopters, they learn about, how does Congress work? How does the United Nations work? How does the defense budget get made? What's the role of the intelligence community? And how does it work with the Pentagon? How does the Pentagon work? You really have to remember that for most people in the military, they're very concentrated on being excellent at that one thing that they do, whether it's, flying helicopters or piloting, driving a ship or making sure a nuclear reactor doesn't melt down on a submarine. That's a really good core skill to have. So when they're moving on in their careers to become more senior, we kind of help them figure out, okay, when you have to think about bigger things and work in the environment in places like Washington, D.C., what are the things you need to know? So that's what we teach them.
And it's a very interesting and an eclectic group of people that the government sends to you, right? I think you mentioned before, it's not just naval officers, but Secret Service agents, people who work at the CIA, all kinds of people who are involved in the kind of the military and intelligence world.
Yep, there are executives from the senior civilians from the executive branch, State Department, CIA, Treasury, you name it. And we also have dozens of international officers. So, on any given day, I've had officers from NATO countries or the Middle East or Africa or Latin America. It's really interesting. It's really interesting when you're talking about NATO and, the guy from Poland raises his hand and says, hey, I have some thoughts, So it's very cool. It's really an interesting place. And it also is on a little island right in the Narragansett Bay,
Do you have a security clearance? Is that something you can even talk about?
Then I'd have to kill you, but yes. Yes, I do, but it's we all the faculty have to have a clearance just to basically walk around the building. So we don't do anything classified because our curriculum is open for our officers and for foreign officers. But because there are classified facilities on the island, we all have to maintain the eligibility. Like if you look at our job postings, it says you have to be able to maintain a secret clearance.
Right.
So I have one, but we don't really use it for anything.
When your students come to you from whatever walk of government service they may come to you from, to your class, what is it that you want them to learn? I think when we talked before, you mentioned it's not about filling their heads with facts and figures, but trying to teach them a different way of thinking about things.
Right. That's really the key. It's critical thinking. We want them to be able to think beyond their particular expertise in whatever it was, because, when they move on and become more senior officers, they're going to have to understand the world. They're going to have to understand their own government. They're going to have to understand things like bureaucracy, international organizations. So we don't really try and fill their heads. I mean, we don't do lectures like, Russia is big and you can fit 14 Texases into Russia kind of lectures. We talk about, when you're dealing with another region of the world, what are the kinds of questions you should ask yourself? What are the demographic or geographic or political issues that you should think of? Because we can't go with them for the rest of their career. This is graduate school, and we're trying to kind of arm them intellectually to deal with a lot of ambiguity and change and difficult problems that even we don't know what they're going to be. I mean, I started teaching at the War College when I was just a puppy. And one of the first lectures I gave was, why is the Soviet Union falling apart? So, we can't really look that far into the future. We try to give them good skills that help them to be agile and intellectually capable officers in situations that we haven't even thought of yet.
We have, I always like to take questions from the chat. Termite04 in the chat is curious to know if you ever teach or deal in the area of electronic warfare and cyber war. Is that something that you are interested in?
I would be over my head trying to teach that, but we have people who do cyber war. We have people who lecture about it. We have a chair in information issues that is specifically dedicated to that stuff. So the nice thing about the War College is that it's just like a graduate school anywhere else. Think of it as kind of like a Kennedy school that's being run by the government for military guys. So in my department, you have people, like me, who deal with Russia and nukes. Like, that's two of my core competencies. If you want to talk about nuclear weapons, I'm your man. Makes for a nice holiday warm discussion over the dinner table.
Oh yeah, well, just what we like here on a Monday morning here on Animal Talking.
Yeah, exactly. Pass the potatoes. And also, what is the megatonnage of a submarine launch missile? But we have people in every kind of expertise. Some of them have regional expertise. Some of them know about things like budgets. And yes, we definitely have cyber war people.
By the way, I want to talk about your book. Before we do that, I do want to give props to my wife and executive producer Leah, who also has the job of, when we want a guest like Tom on the show, who wants to come on but doesn't have access to Animal Crossing because you can't buy a Nintendo Switch anywhere right now; they're all sold out. Leah creates, she actually takes her own avatar and modifies it to look like whoever it needs to look like, and we dress them. And Tom got to approve, his look and his wardrobe and everything before the show. I kind of like this tweedy professor look that we've given you, Tom. I think it fits you quite well.
Yeah, I think the lavender and blue is really a nice. It brings out my eyes.
We did originally put you in a jacket with a red tie, and you said, I'm not wearing that because Trump only ever wears red ties. And so
the red tie. I think in the fashion world, no matter what you think about politics, I think the president has killed off red ties.
Ellie324 asks the question, Tom, do you enjoy knowing how nuclear weapons work?
Yes and no, because the more you know about it, the more confidence you have in the people who run the whole business. I think the people at places like Strategic Command in the United States, I mean, they are really, the best. These are people, to be on a submarine or to be in the Air Force dealing with nuclear weapons, you really have to know your stuff. What I don't like knowing is what would happen if anyone uses one. That during the Cold War, that literally used to give me nightmares. Like, that was the, if this thing goes sideways, I know what it's going to look like, and I wish I didn't. I grew up next to an Air Force base, and I used to say to my parents when I was a kid, I said, geez, we're supposed to evacuate to such and such a place. I think we were supposed to go up to the University of Massachusetts, which I thought would be cool. My parents said, if this happens, Dad and I are going to take a lawn chair and go out in the front yard and have a drink. And that's when I started getting interested in this, because of my parents being kind of like, yeah, this is not something we'll survive. So yeah, it's comforting. I think information is power, and knowing stuff is important. But sometimes you can know a lot. I imagine oncologists must feel this way. Like, they know a lot about cancer, and so, they probably fear it less in some way professionally. On the other hand, they know the bad stuff that you probably wish you didn't. So I think it's kind of like that.
So Tom, I do want to get to our. Here's what we're going to do with Cliffy. Cliffy is not going to try to bring his character back to the island because he's obviously having trouble with his Nintendo connection. I'm probably going to have, just to humiliate him, I'm probably going to have DJ Cupcakes sit on the couch in his stead. Cliffy will still be here via audio, but his character tonight, we're going to bring on his understudy. Cliffy's a theater producer. He understands this. When the main actor's not available, you bring on an understudy. So we're going to be doing that shortly. But before we bring on DJ Cupcakes in Cliffy's place, Tom, you mentioned the word expertise several times during this interview, and I wanted, because you wrote a whole book on this subject, and I do want to talk about it. You wrote a book called "The Death of Expertise," and it's gone on to be a big seller. And so here's my take on this. Obviously, I want to hear yours, but here's the intro to your book. In my view, the internet has led to this wonderful, wonderful democratization of opinion that's allowed everyone to have a voice and have a platform. But it's also kind of leveled the playing field in a way in which everyone's opinion now seems to carry equal weight, regardless of how educated or informed they actually are. We see this now every day on social media. We're seeing it now during the pandemic, where these idiots on Fox News act like they know as much about infectious diseases as people who have actually studied them their entire lives. Right. So we're all dealing with that right now. But you seem to see this coming before anyone else. You wrote a whole book about this a few years ago. Let me ask you this: what was the point, if there was a single point, where you realized that this was becoming a serious problem, and why is it so important that you felt the need to write a book about it?
Well, I wrote it actually long before this administration or the pandemic or anything else. The first time I wrote about it was a blog that I no longer keep, but a blog piece that I wrote in 2013, and then it became an article. And that was spurred by some younger person I was talking to about Snowden, Edward Snowden, and Russia, and this guy didn't like what I was saying, and he said, "Tom, I don't think you understand Russia. Let me explain Russia to you." After 30 years of speaking Russian and writing books about Russia,
doesn't that just make you want to pull your hair out when some random on Twitter tries to explain things to you that you studied your entire life?
It's almost mad enough to make you write a book, really. And I just said, no, we're not doing this. This is where I talk and you don't. And I thought, how did this happen? And as I did more research on it, what I realized, because I actually never thought of writing a book about it. That was Oxford's idea. I said, look, does anybody want to listen to some old professor kind of, complaining about people not listening to professors? But I think this really goes all the way back to the early 70s, that we've become a very narcissistic society. We just can't believe that we're ever wrong about anything. We don't like anybody correcting us. We don't like to think that anybody in the room is smarter than we are. And that's ridiculous. And it's not just about people with, PhDs or other professionals. I mean, if somebody's working on your house, and I had a house fire. This actually happened where the guys working on my house were talking to me about this, and like the carpenter was saying, "Oh yeah, this happens to me all the time." Like, or the electrician. So, people come downstairs with him to the basement and say, you ought to run that wire up through that thing. And they're always like one step away from handing, a couple hundred volts to somebody and saying, listen, if you think you know what you're doing, you do it. People do this with their doctors all the time. Here's what I've got, and here's the thing. My doctor said, people walk in and say, here's what I've got, and here's what you're going to do, and here's what you're going to prescribe to.
So, I mean, this is obviously, I've been in situations like that. And I to be fair, I've been on the giving end of it. I've spoken, I've done that same thing where like someone's working on something in my house and I'm like, what if you do it like this? And you can see the guy kind of rolling his eyes at me. We're all guilty of it. But the internet has really kind of driven it into warp speed.
The internet,
that's where it really took off.
Right. Well, the internet put it on steroids. I mean, it was bad enough before then. But, and I'm sure you've been on the other end of this. People say, oh, you've written scripts? Here, got a couple of ideas for you about dialogue, and it's like,
that's my favorite one as a screenwriter, Tom, is that, I've got this great idea. I just need you to write it. Like, that's the easy part.
I was talking to Bill Maher when I was on his show, and I said, I'm sure people walk up to Bill Maher and literally say, Bill Maher, I have some recommendations for you about timing. You're a good comedian, but I have a few tips for you about timing. He was like, this really happens to me all the time. and it happens to everybody. And I think it's because we're just so narcissistic. We're like little kids who have to constantly show each other stuff and say that we're smart and that nobody else can be smarter than we are, because we're all and you brought up the internet, Gary. I think a lot of it has to do with the way we educate kids. I think this really is kind of the trophy generation problem of everybody's smart, everybody's opinion matters, all the kids are above average, we're all living in Lake Wobegon. And it's, it's crazy. I mean, we live on the division of labor.
I mean, it's again, yeah, I want to keep it light because it's animal talking. We have fun over here and we're supposed to be a politics-free zone, but you've got me going. I mean, I know it's irritating when someone comes up to you and pretends like they know more than you on Twitter or whatever, but it's dangerous, isn't it, when this kind of stuff prevails?
Oh yeah, I mean, it's dangerous. I mean, we don't have to get all heavy about politics. It's dangerous in anything. Like I said, when people do it to their doctors, a surgeon once said to me, he's got to the point where he wants to put all his instruments on a tray and push it across the table and say, you know what, take out your own knee, because people are giving each other advice and thinking that they know more than doctors or engineers or diplomats or whatever it is. And, it can definitely get you into trouble. It can lead you to do things like say, well, we're not going to go down the road of politics, but think of all the people who are thinking, well, I'll take this experimental drug because I heard about it and I did some reading on the internet and some politicians I like said something about it, and the next thing you know, they're having heart arrhythmias or something. There's a reason we listen to experts. I'm dropping
the link again into the chat right now, and I'm going to put it up on screen. Here is the book. It's called The Death of Expertise: The Campaign Against Established Knowledge and Why It Matters. It's a really, really fascinating book, and if you have any interest in this subject, I highly recommend you go check it out. Really, really interesting
and it's
stuff.
Fun. I'll tell people out there, it's not a boring read. It's not an academic book. You'll have fun with it, I promise.
All right, go get that book. So Tom, people keep dropping things into the chat. Somebody just said, I can't believe this is true. Somebody said, can you explain Big Anime Booty? I love that name, by the way. Big Anime Booty in the chat asks the question, can you ask Tom why he hates Led Zeppelin? It's a two-part question, Tom. Is that true? And the second part is, are you just on a mission to piss everybody off? What's going on?
Well, first of all, I just want to say that after 35 years, I have finally been asked a question by Big Anime Booty, and I can retire as a happy man.
You've made it.
Here's the thing. I don't like Led Zeppelin. I accept their awesomeness as a band, but it's kind of like Indian food. It's just not my cup of tea. What really, and since I'm going to annoy the whole planet, I might as well just go for it right now. What I said at one point was that I would rather listen to side one of the first Boston album, which I really like, rather than any Led Zeppelin album. That led to John Heilemann on national TV basically asking me this question in front of gazillions of people. And so ever since, it's been the great Boston versus Led Zeppelin fight. And I actually got a nice note from the manager of Boston for sticking up for them. I can't stand and I'll tell you this, I grew up 70s. I was born in 1960. I was a teenager in the early 70s, and I didn't like Led Zeppelin then. So this is not an old man thing. I was like the one guy in 1974 going, turn that off, dude, that sucks. And my friends just rolled their eyes at me. So, I've been this way a long time. I think it's like genetic. I think I just have like a DNA strand that's broken where Indian food and Led Zeppelin are concerned.
Yeah, and you're obviously paying for it big time on social media lately. So here's the other thing, Tom. You're a fascinating guest. I'm so glad that you're here. I could talk to you all day long. I am going to bring our next guest on in just a moment. Before I do that, I just want to clarify. A lot of people might think, why is this guy here? He's an academic, he's intellectual, he's a serious person, he's smart, he's all the things that animal talking is not. But there is a big but. If you'll forgive the term, there is a big but. It's not so strange that you're here inside a video game after all, because you are a gamer. I know that you're a big PC gamer, right?
I am an OG gamer. I was gaming before you kids were born. I'm a total game nerd, and I have been ever since the 1980s. So yeah, I'm a hopeless gamer, and it always surprises people to find that out. But yeah, I blow millions of hours on Fallout, which is my particular favorite. So I'm a PC gamer. Sorry guys, it's just I was born PC. I'm gonna die PC. Fallout, XCOM, all the classics. So yeah.
I discovered this because I do follow you on Twitter, and you recently posted some pictures. I know that you recently built, or had built for you, a brand new gaming rig from Falcon Northwest. You proudly showed it off on Twitter. I'm gonna go to the image right now. Here it is. Look at this beast of a PC with a GeForce RTX card inside there. Tom, tell me a little bit about this new PC. Was it just time for a new one? Like, what was the thinking behind getting a new PC? How did you spec it out? Tell me all about this beast of a machine.
When it's time to get a new PC, Gary, is when you have enough money. Then it's always time to get a new PC. So what that system you're looking at really says is I'm an adult with disposable income. So I decided I wanted to take advantage of, higher end graphics and future proof my machine, because I work and play on the same machine most of the time. It's just, I don't keep systems. And so I called my old friends at Falcon Northwest, and I put in, I can't remember what the processor is. I'm blanking on it now. What's
the GPU? What's that GeForce card you've got in there?
That is a 2070 Super.
That's pretty good. It's not my Titan RTX, but that's not bad.
God.
No, and because I don't do a lot of. In fact, I don't do any. Not since probably the early 2000s. I haven't done multiplayer gaming because I'm old and everybody annoys me. So I didn't really need big hefty honking Titan in there, but that's a 2070 Super. There's the most humiliating thing I'm going to admit is that I put 32 in there simply because that was the version that would light up in the dark, because I like pretty lights, because I'm a sap. And if you'll notice, the one thing I want to point out is after I bought the system,
I'm going to go back to the image. Here we go. Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, after I bought the system, the guys at Falcon, one of them had read the book and really liked it, and he said, hey, let us throw in a design for you. And so on one side, this side is the Chinese cover of The Death of Expertise. The book's been translated into 12 foreign languages at this point. So they took the Chinese cover and they put it on the glass, and they took the Italian cover, which is very cool, and they put it on the other side. So I have, my PC is basically a couple of my book covers. And yes, that's a Sound Blaster AE7 card in there, because I'm, because I'm old school and I still put sound cards and things.
I love it. That's very, very cool. Mindforks in the chat says, why would you ever buy Titan RTX when you can just get a 2080 Ti? Perhaps a good question, Mindforks, but I have a friend at NVIDIA who gave me mine for free, so stick that in your pipe and smoke it. Tom, I want to ask you, what do you like? So what do you like to play? What are you playing right now? I think last time I saw you in Discord, it looks like you were playing some Panzer Corps, some World War II tank action.
Yeah. Of course. I mean, I have this gigantically complicated computer to play a 10-year-old game, but what I really enjoyed was I played the first Fallout when it came out, like 25 years ago, and I played Fallout 4. And someone asked me earlier about, does it suck to know about nuclear weapons? It does, but it makes playing a post-nuclear role-playing game hilarious and really fun, especially one that's set in your hometown. I'm from Massachusetts originally, and I went to school in Boston. So, Fallout 3 was in DC, where I worked for years. Fallout 4 was in Boston. So running around post-apocalyptic nuclear ruins was kind of what I've been doing in the back of my head for 30 anyway, and it was more fun to get like levels and weapons for doing it. So I really enjoy the kind of the RPG post-apocalyptic mode. But yeah, and then when I am trying to clear my brain, I'll go back and play like the old version of Panzer Corps or Tropico or something like that. But I will say this to people out there, you grown-ups who think gaming is a waste of time, because I get that from my colleagues. I actually found that it kind of helped my career in that when I needed to write and I needed to clear my head and I was blocked or I couldn't get something done, stopping what I was doing and then blowing up the snot out of super mutants totally cleared my head and I could go back to being serious and writing again.
That's great. I love that.
I think there's a good argument for gaming as a way of kind of maintaining your mental health while you're trying to do a lot of brain intensive work.
We're gonna bring on Cliffy in just a moment. First of all, though, I just have to bring. It wasn't even in my notes, but since you were talking about it in games and how it applies to your work, I don't know if you're old enough to remember this, Tom, but back in the 80s when everyone was everyone was terrified of nuclear war in the 80s growing up, and you guys had The Day After. We had our own version of it. The BBC made a show called Threads, which they made us watch in school.
Yes.
And terror. You ever see that movie Threads? Terrified me.
I assign that. I teach a course on nuclear weapons, and I assign that to my students. I actually make them watch it. And one of the first years, I'm laughing about something else, by the way. Somebody in the chat said, "Who knew Sound Blaster even existed?" I'm shaking my old guy fist at you, whoever you are. But I made them watch Threads, and one of the students came up to me and afterwards said, "Well, thanks, Professor. Now I need therapy."
Yeah, I mean, I was like 10 years old when they made us watch that in school. I was absolutely terrified. The thing I wanted to mention to you, though,
they made you watch that at 10.
Yeah, they rolled in the TV on that little cart that they used to have in schools. Remember, they used to bring in the cart with the VHS player, and they turned down the lights and they made us watch Threads.
No. 10 years old. That's an NC-17 movie. That's barely an X rating.
I mean,
for
it's
that movie.
serious stuff. I mean, it makes The Day After look like Mr. Rogers' Neighborhood. I mean, it's no joke.
Exactly. And it shows you the difference between British and American TV. The Americans had to really clean it up. Right. Whereas, Brits showed you a woman chewing through her own umbilical cord. It was just awful. That was the moment I had to... It was terrifying. The game I wanted to mention to you, I'll be amazed. You know what? Maybe not with you because you're obviously like deeply into this stuff. But there was a video game, computer game. It was on the Commodore 64 in the 1980s, and it was called Theater Europe. And it was a strategic war game that basically simulated a mass engagement, theoretical engagement between all the forces of NATO and all the forces of the Warsaw Pact in the mid 80s. And you always had that nuclear release at your option. But it was like the idea was like as soon as you pressed that button, you essentially lost the game because you basically triggered mutually assured destruction. And I think the game had something to teach us because you almost always ended up pressing that button. Like it escalated, and you ended up I'm just going to nuke this guy. And then the next thing you know, the whole world is over. And I thought it was actually quite an interesting game in that it basically taught you about the futility of large-scale nuclear war. Well, I wrote you can tell I agree because when I wrote a book about nuclear weapons, I titled it No Use, which kind of gave it away right there as a spoiler. Because there are so many people who think you can use these things and get away with them. But somebody asked you, I think you asked me about security clearances. So I'll give you one little super secret bit from a long time ago that the Naval War College used to run this thing called Global War Games, which was like a big simulation of an international crisis. They did it every year. And about over 30 years ago, I was asked to be an evaluator and kind of an advisor to the game. And I said, what happens, when you get to the point where you're going to push the button? And the guy shrugged. He says, yeah, we really never gone beyond that. Cause he sort of kind of shrugged and went, what's the point? That if you get to that point, then, the game's over. And I thought that was the most reassuring thing I'd ever heard 30 something years ago in the middle of the 1980s was that one of the people involved in this went, yeah, in theory, the game includes that, but we don't really ever bother doing that.
Wow. Adam, we got to lighten the mood here. I think it's time to bring on our next guest. Plus, my next guest and the one behind him, the wonderful LDShadowLady, waiting very patiently in the green room. These shows always run long. Tom, you don't have to do this personally. Leo will take care of it for you. But I'm going to ask you if you'd be so good as to scooch down the couch and make room for our...
I'm happy to scooch.
There you go. So scooch on down. Given that Cliffy is having a little problem getting his character back on the island, his understudy, DJ Cupcakes, is going to step in. Let's see. Let's get that character on the couch, and I'll get back behind the desk. And I will say, please welcome my next guest. He's a good friend of mine, and I'm so glad he's coming on the show. He hasn't done any press or any public appearances in a little while. This is his first time back in the spotlight. Please welcome to the show my good friend Cliff Bleszinski. Yay. Cliffy B, we've had all kinds of technical problems on this show, some of which, frankly, have been your fault. But I'm willing to put that all under that water under the bridge. We managed to sub in an understudy for you at the last minute here. Yeah, again, you work in theatre these days. You understand this happens. The main actor can't go on. That's why you have an understudy. Cliff Bleszinski, Cliffy B. Thank you so much for joining us here today on Animal Talking.
Thank you for having me, Gary. It's kind of an honor. Like when you first started this whole shenanigans, I was like, wow, this is going to be big. This is going to be huge. This is exactly what 2020 needs.
And Animal Talking is what 2020 needs, and what Animal Talking needs is Cliffy B on the show, injecting some real star power here. Cliffy, I want to take you. What I like to do with my guests, I always, obviously incomprehensible in your case, but I do want to. I always assume that people on the show haven't heard of my guests before, so I want to take you all the way back to the beginning. I'm not going to show a picture. I'm going to spare you that, but I want to take you back to the beginning, the early days of Frosted Tips and all of that stuff when you were just getting started as a video game developer. I was reading about you on Wikipedia, and I learned something that I didn't know. I thought I knew it all, but let's say your first game, the one that got you in the door at Epic Games, or Epic Mega Games as it was back in those early days, was a game called Dare to Dream. I've never heard of that. What was Dare to Dream?
It was actually there was a game before that that was called The Palace of Deceit. This was back in the PC gaming days. Well, PC gaming is still obviously huge, but I wanted to make games when I was a teenager, and I made a game called The Palace of Deceit, where you were a little baby dragon trying to escape from a castle where this evil wizard had you kidnapped. It was kind of like Shadowgate and Deja Vu. You remember those old adventure games?
Yeah.
And then I sent it to Epic, and they liked it. And then I got a phone call from Mark Rain, who's the VP at Epic, obviously Fortnite, Gears of War, etc. And he's like, started telling me how we're going to improve this with, higher graphics resolution. We're going to put music and animation in. And I was like, screw this guy. I'm not going to work with him. But I kept in touch. And then I made this game called Dare to Dream, which I've never been a good sleeper, but I've always dreamt a lot. And it's one of those things that I realized it's about a 10-year-old boy who is experiencing his dreams, and it's kind of like the equivalent of an adventure game where you're lucid dreaming, right? And
okay.
Now that I'm working on a memoir right now, and I realized that I was actually developing it in the haze of an Accutane-induced depression as a teenager because I had bad acne, right? And it's a really weird, messed up game, and it was actually my first bomb. So there's that.
First, but not the last.
Yeah, I've had my share of hits and misses, and as Aerosmith said back in the day, you got to lose to know how to win,
And we'll talk about that in a minute. I want to talk to you first, though, about the game that put you on the map. Let's talk about Jazz Jackrabbit. What was the origin of Jazz Jackrabbit?
Well, so, being an 80s kid, my parents got a VCR, and they showed us all sorts of movies that were incredibly inappropriate for our ages, being, young and wet behind the ears. And one of the ones that they showed us was Rambo, First Blood Part 2. And back in the day, Sylvester Stallone was like the man. You'd go and see Rocky, and you'd come out of the theater like wanting to like get in a fight and everything like that. And the idea of Rambo was the the idyllic manly man, right? And then at the time, character action platformers were all the rage. Everything from Mario and Sonic all the way through to even stupid Bubsy. And then oh yeah,
we all remember Bubsy.
Here's the quote from the show. Cliff Bleszinski throws Bubsy under the bus.
Oh yeah, throwing shade at Bubsy. That's going to be big. That's going to be big news on the clickbait sites tomorrow.
And then there's Gex on the 3DOA. By Dana Gould, I believe. Anyway, so I grew up with Mario, and I wanted to make a character action platform game, but I didn't have the chops to do it. And one day, a little gentleman by the name of Tim Sweeney, who I started working with at Epic, sent me a little editor. But the editor was really, really important to all of it. But also the whole point was that the game was silky smooth, 256 colors, parallax scrolling, which was like so big. And I saw that, this was an underserved market. Commander Keen had come out, and Commander Keen was, a big thing for id before they went to Wolfenstein and then Doom. And I wanted to make my own character action platform game. And, it made me enough money so that I could move out of my mother's house in Laverne, California, where she was not running the air conditioning ever, and it would get to 110 degrees, and she'd say, just open a window, Clifford. And I'm like, Ma, it's like opening a freaking oven. And, I had like 2 PCs at one point running in my upstairs room, heat rises. And I finally got my first car, which was a 91 red Saturn. And then I got my first apartment over in Rancho Cucamonga. and then basically just hopped on that Epic train and essentially didn't look back for the next 20 years.
Now, Jazz Jack, all that is old is new again these days. All these characters are coming back. Epic's got billions of dollars off the back of Fortnite. Where's the Jackrabbit reboot that I know we all crave?
I have so Jay Wilbur, who was the biz guy over there for quite some time. He's retired now, but back in the day, I would, when I left Epic, I'd bug him. I'd be like, "You guys gonna do something with this?" And be like, "Yeah, we're looking into it." And they're just kind of sitting on it. And there's we had started work on a Jazz 3, aka Jazz 3D, as per the advice from George Broussard from 3D Realms, who did Duke Nukem, because they took Duke Nukem and they made him 3D after they did the 2D platform games. And now they're just sitting on it, man. They own the rights. Here's the weird thing, though. In the one project from Epic that I'm still getting a chunk of change off of is Jazz Jackrabbit, because they released it on Good Old Games. And all the other projects, like Fortnite and all that, and Gears, like I was an employee, so I don't actually get royalties off that. But yeah, it's so weird to get like a little bit of money from a game I did in 1994.
I mean, the fact that you're still getting paid tells me that there's still demand out there for it, pent-up demand. I think Fortnite should take some of its, endless billions and do the big budget Jazz Jackrabbit reboot. Now, the stuff that really, really put you on the map, of course, Cliffy, was Unreal and later Unreal Tournament. That's really what launched the Cliffy B brand. But then I think the thing that you're probably most well known for is, of course, creating Gears of War. You Cliffy B created a franchise which is still now today one of the pillars of the Xbox franchise. When people say, what's Xbox got? They go, well, Halo, Forza, Gears of War. Like, it's right up there with, it's a quintuple A franchise. And I don't know how you feel kind of looking back on it now, but I'm curious, do you still keep tabs on the Gears franchise? They're up to 5 games now. They've got Gears Tactics. I know you publicly offered to help out Microsoft recently with the Gears franchise. Do they need your help? Would you want to help? Is Gears something you are still interested in?
It's so weird because every day somebody tweets me and says, make Gears great again. Like I'm some sort of like silver bullet. And I played through 4. I got, Rod Ferguson, who is the EP, and he's a beast of a producer. The guy's just a workaholic. He literally got like the Crimson Omen Gears symbol tattooed on his body. I'm like, that's like Bill Gates getting the Windows logo as a tramp stamp, dude. And basically it's like one of those things like I wouldn't be a silver bullet, like if you think there's problems with the franchise, like that's not on me to solve. I had my own ideas about where the single player campaign could or should go. I am still technically under non-disclosure, and I really don't feel like getting bankrupted tomorrow. The thing is Microsoft, for those of you in the chat or listening, don't recall, bought the franchise from Epic, because once I left Epic and Rod left Epic, Epic was like, we don't know what to do with this thing. I think they did a pretty good job with it. They're starting to unfurl like where the locusts are from, like the queen have a daughter, all that kind of stuff, which is, compelling stuff. But we'll see where it goes. The thing is, when the franchise was sold, I literally got a phone call from Phil Spencer, who runs Xbox, to tell me about it, and I love Tim and Mark from Epic dearly, but they didn't call and tell me, but Phil's a classy guy, and Phil, called me and told me, and it was really like one of those like character establishing moments where you see that he's a good dude trademark, right?
It must be interesting for you as the guy that created the franchise to play the newer games that have continued on after you left. Is that a weird experience for you? Is it frustrating? Like, for example, when you play one of the modern Gears games, you're playing it, you must be thinking like that's not a choice I would have made. Like you must see it in a different way than regular players.
God or the devil, depending on who you ask, is in the details. And it's the whole joke is I have notes, right? It's kind of like you being a screenwriter. I have notes. I play the new ones and I'm like, okay, the cover doesn't feel as crisp in this section, or the blood doesn't quite fly off the characters as it used to. The camera's a little messed up in the situation. The younger cast that they put in kind of feels like, they're out of Riverdale or something like that. But it is what it is at this point.
Wow.
There's a saying.
I like Riverdale.
Yeah, they came to our Comic-Con party. They're cool. So yeah, it's one of those things that teach a man how to make video games and he'll never want to play video games for the rest of his life. And to some extent, that's true for me. The only game that I'm really playing, of course, ironically, is of course Animal Crossing. Like that's the one that I'm totally into right now, because once you see how the sausage is made, you don't want to eat the sausage anymore. Like when I see videos of, new games coming out for the Xbox X, whatever the hell they're calling it these days, I'm like, yeah, that looks like it cost about $200 million and it's going to cost $100 million to market. Good luck with that,
Tom Nichols, you mentioned you're a hardcore PC gamer. Cliff has been making games since the old beige box days of PCs. Have you ever come across any of his work? Were you playing Jackrabbit or Unreal Tournament back in the day, or is this not your cup of tea genre-wise?
Jazz Jackrabbit was not my cup of tea because I grew up with, thumping quarters into console games in arcades. But I did play Unreal Tournament, and I was aware, of course, of Gears of War. So I was kind of, fanboying by, between you and Cliff. I was, I'm pretty happy to be here. So yes, I played that stuff back in the day, but not the kind of the single player Jazz Jackrabbit. I knew of it, but that was too close to kind of what I grew up with in the 70s. So I was looking for the weird, explodey stuff.
Well, maybe when the big next gen reboot that we no doubt have initiated here on the show comes out, you'll be able to get into that. Cliffy, one of the things if you watch the show all the time, you'll know that I often like to talk about failure. It's one of my favorite subjects because I've had big failures in my life. Everyone has. Anyone who's had any worthwhile career has had big failures. We had Colin Trevorrow. I had a big failure with After Earth. People still like to give me grief about it on Twitter. We had Colin Trevorrow on the show, who had a big, very public flop with his movie, The Book of Henry, and he came on the show and talked about it in, I thought, a very wise and contemplative way. And so, of course, I do have to talk to you about Boss Key and Lawbreakers, which was really the last thing you did in the game industry. The game wasn't successful. Boss Key Studios ultimately folded, and you are now currently kind of semi-retired from the games industry. So I just want to give you the opportunity now on the show to kind of talk about that experience a little bit. I'm sure it must have been incredibly painful, but I always feel that when these things happen, the one positive you can take from it is what lessons can you learn. So I just want to ask you, what was that experience like? Now you've had some time to reflect on it, and what lessons have you learned?
As they say, it was the best of times, it was the worst of times, and I was enjoying happily being retired the first time, and then I got the itch. I was reading just random books, and different weapon ideas started popping into my head, and then my agent Ophir at UTA started shopping me around, and I did the whole bake sale, as they say. Met with Ubisoft, met with EA, met with Activision, all of them. But ultimately, it was a Korean company, Nexon, who had the United States wing that they were doing in El Segundo, and they offered a nice chunk of money to start a studio. And I wanted to start it in downtown Raleigh, and I started it with the guy I made Jazz Jackrabbit with, Ardian Bruse, Dutch guy. I don't know what it is about the Netherlands, they produce people. And for the first couple of years, it was a blast. We were making a fun first-person shooter. A lot of the programmers who were also acting as game designers were fans of MOBAs at the time, and they wanted to give the characters abilities and have unique characters. And I'll never forget, on Thursdays, we would do what we called Thirst Day, where we go to the pub a block away and have a company. And I remember the first unveiling video for Overwatch, which looked great. And I remember the programmer, Matt, looking and his jaw was just dropping. And I was like, now we know what not to do. And we still had the characters, we still had the abilities, but I didn't want to clone the same exact abilities that Overwatch did. And the thing is the game looked good technically, but I think it missed a little bit of that stylization that Overwatch has, with the characters kind of looking anime style that people loved. It kind of missed that je ne sais quoi of tapping into cosplayers in the zeitgeist. And also, marketing was a factor. The fact that, when, Activision Blizzard, puts $1 bazillion into making Overwatch the next phenomenon, along with insanely beautiful Pixar quality cinematics, good luck with that. And you basically, we were walking into a storm, and, we got pummeled. And, a lot of people still tweet me about it. We put our hearts and souls into it. And then, I will tell you one thing, Gary. I will never be a CEO ever again for the rest of my life. The thing is, I didn't see my employees as cogs, for lack of a better term. I saw them as friends. I was so excited to burst into a coder's office and see what he'd done with the camera, or what new weapon he'd coded, and then talk about what happened on Thrones the prior evening. So, we had a great office space, and ironically, Squanch Games, from Justin Roiland, half of his studios in Raleigh is in the exact same space now. So, there's silver linings to everything. months after the studio folded, I wound up going to one of our UI guys, Jonathan Peden's wedding in Wilmington, North Carolina, and we all just had like a big huddle. And the whole joke from Gears is to the end. I'm still in touch with the majority of people employed. For people who get fired, that's a terrible feeling. But to actually like be the one firing them, that's nearly as bad. Like having to actually let people go is one of the worst feelings. That's why I'm just like, yeah, no, I'm done.
If you could go back in gaming parlance, Cliff, if you could go back to an earlier save before starting Bleszinski and before making Lawbreakers, what would you do? What would you do differently, knowing now, knowing then what you know now? Or is it a case of just like, again, like it was Overwatch came out around the same time, and like, what could you really do as a juggernaut of a game? Would you do anything differently if you had your time over again?
Well, Ardian, the Dutch guy, again, that I did jazz with, that I founded Bleszinski with, he had made a comment to me as the studio was starting to slowly unfurl, where he made the point that, we got a great deal with Nexon thanks to our agents and our lawyers, right? Our lawyers are like out of Beverly Hills. I'm not going to use like Joey out of Greensboro, North Carolina. And basically, he realized like, a less good deal, a deal that wasn't quite as, amazing with like an Activision or an EA, the old school guard, may have made more sense than having this amazing deal with this Korean company, because, at the time, Nexon US seemed to not really have any idea what they were doing, and it was a bit of a revolving door. The marketing plan would change, I'd get a new PR person all the time. Like, we were doing all of the community engagement with Rohan, who's now at Epic, by the way. That guy worked tirelessly, came from GameTrailers.com. But yeah, I would have actually had, a less great deal in order to actually have the game, get marketed properly and to get eyeballs. I could throw blame everywhere, I want to, but, inevitably, like, I would not be CEO, and I would just go back to being, like, the main creative, and I would also be more of a dick. My problem in regards to the way that I work is I'm too nice. I'm like, okay, like, let you go ahead and just run with those ideas. Like, I never really liked MOBAs, and like, I didn't really think the characters had abilities. I wanted to make kind of a more of a classic arena shooter where, gravity was this whole thing where people were running on walls and ceilings, and you can invert gravity, increase it, and things like that. And I had such a hard time even selling that, even though I was the primary owner of the CEO.
How did you personally deal with the very public failure of Bleszinski and Lawbreakers? You are a celebrity in the video game industry in your own right, which means your successes are very public and your failures are very public. And you enjoyed success after success after success with Jackrabbit and the Unreal games, and then Gears of War, and then suddenly, the opposite scenario happens. Did you go lock yourself in a dark room for a while? Did you deal with failure well, or how did you cope with it?
No, I was deeply, deeply depressed for about a year. My doctor put me on Lexapro for a little bit. That messed me up, so got off that. And then I just, it's one of those things that, it was one of the hardest things to actually happen to me in my entire life. It was almost harder than losing my father when I was 15 years old, because, I was cocky, I was brash, and I was just assuming that if I just, faked it until I made it, even though I'd already made it, that the game would be a hit. And, I'll never forget, like, watching the concurrent users kind of just start to plummet. And, it's what it is. As good as Overwatch is, being a hardcore shooter fan, there were things that just bothered me about it. The little bits of auto aim and, the collision boxes and things like that, things about the movement, the chaos that was going on. And it just, jealousy started kicking. And that's why these days I'm just kind of like, if I were to ever make another video game ever again, it'd be something small, the whole kid with a lost dog thing like that, where you're the dog trying to get back to New Jersey from the Grand Canyon, like that. The whole, that was also one of the problems with Lawbreakers and with Bleszinski is, we were trying to be AAA on a AA budget. And then you factor in, again, marketing and things like that. And we didn't get around to actually letting people know the lore and the history of the characters. There is a lot of mistakes to be made. People like to try and pinpoint one thing in regards to, they're like, oh, it's an Overwatch clone. I'm like, we were developing it at the same time as Overwatch. There's no way we could have suddenly scrambled and made the exact same game as per your perception.
I think a lot of people in the chat right now, Cliffy, are really appreciating the fact that you're getting very real here and talking in a very real and personal way about how this affected your mental health and stuff like that. And it's important to talk about that stuff. And I want to ask you, so that's looking back. Looking forward, you are currently temporarily at least kind of retired from the game industry. You're doing lots of other things instead. But I do want to ask you, about the games industry and its current state. Are you disillusioned Did the experience with Lawbreakers and Bleszinski leave you feeling disillusioned about the game industry in general?
Yeah, I'm a little bit disillusioned. I'm freaking 45 years old now, and I'm a little bit jaded. And the irony is, video games brought me to meet my wonderful wife, and she still, gets hooked on World of Warcraft Classic or Animal Crossing or Lord knows what she's playing right now. But yeah, the thing is we're in this world of virality, where luck is more of a factor than ever. And you look at Twitch, you look at YouTube. And, I remember becoming friends with a lot of the streamers and tubers and, Instagram models and things like that. And that's, you have to not only have the Monday Night Football commercials, but you also have to connect to them, essentially go viral. And one of the glimmering moments that we had with, Radical Heights was when Ninja actually streamed it. And then, the hackers started infiltrating the game because we didn't have proper cheat protection, that, things continued to start to, crumble, rearranging the chairs on the deck of the Titanic, as they say. But yeah, I might be a little bit jaded, but here's the thing, I'm really still super close friends with a bunch of game developers. And some nights we'll go into town and go for a pint, and I just see this 1,000-yard stare in their eyes. Like, this industry has been really, really good to me, but I've also seen the damage that it can bring on game developers. I've seen families ruined. I've seen people with, substance abuse issues. I've seen, people, having to go to therapy, working so many hours, and whatnot, and just for the privilege of saying they worked in a video game. And then, as much as I respect esports, it does bother me a little bit that the game developer who's making a decent salary at a studio isn't going to see the multi-million-dollar windfall that some kid playing his game in esports tournament's going to get. And does that sound jaded? I don't know.
No, I think it sounds very grounded, and you've kind of touched on my next question already. But I want to just ask you straight out. I know that obviously you are currently retired, you're not actively engaged in the games business, but I know you still are a keen observer of it. What is wrong with the game industry right now, and how would you fix it?
It feels like there's essentially two categories right now. There's, as per Lord of the Rings, one game to rule them all. Basically, whatever game is huge, and Twitch streamers, again, respect them. They're doing their thing, and they're trying to monetize. They're trying to make money. Hey guys, like and subscribe. But
by the way, don't forget to like and subscribe. Thanks, Cliffy. Thanks for the reminder. Appreciate that.
Well played. But yeah, you have to appeal to them. You have to win them over. Otherwise, you're just dead in the water. And especially if you're spending, $100, $200 million to make your game, you need to get them. And the other thing is you're either like this ridiculous, AAA game. And again, all I see is the money on the screen when I play some AAA games. Or you're super indie. And the indie space is so swamped. Like, good luck actually cutting through the noise in that space. So it's much like our political world. We're very polarized in the gaming space. There's like one big, huge release, or people go back to Minecraft or Fortnite.
By the way, after I said don't forget to like and subscribe, a bunch of people subscribed. Adam, I think that actually works.
Yeah, it does.
It's crazy.
That's what I've been telling you.
It's crazy. I gotta do it more often. Got to up my engagement. Cliffy, I totally get why the things about the games industry that make you leave you feeling jaded. But on the positive side, are there things about the games and the current games business that still excite you? Like what keeps you excited about games?
Just playing like random silly little games. I can't remember the name of it right now. I think it was like Bikes and something that Double Fine put out.
Oh, Knights and Bikes.
Yeah, Knights and Bikes. That was utterly charming. I played Animal Crossing way back in the day, the first version during my starter marriage, for lack of a better term. The one thing that, I'm in therapy, which I've been really transparent about my mental health, if you can't afford it, therapy's a great thing. And, I told my therapist one of the things that Lauren managed to get me to do is to just play games again, and I, playing the new Ori in the Will-O-the-Wisps, was really great, which, by the way, play with a controller, not because I made that mistake. And then getting into Animal Crossing, and then just, sitting here, especially during this quarantine, and winding up on speakerphone with, a couple friends, and just, shooting the you-know-what on each other's islands. And, even the little things, with Laura Beth's, friends, we wound up playing hide and go seek on her friend's island the other day. And my island is just crap. It's just basically like me I made signs like "Occupy Tom Nook" and Tom Nook is a thief, and I put him outside his house and everything like that. I decided to make my beach look like it's polluted, so I made like pixel art of like oil stains and like dead seagulls and oil cans out there and everything like that. And I made like little cigarette butt icons that I put around the beach like that. So it's kind of like my statement on like don't pollute the environment. But yeah, like when it comes to games these days, it has to be on my own terms. But the thing is like my new addiction is learning other industries. I learned more about business and finance in the last 5 to 6 years than I had my entire adult life. Like Lord knows public school didn't, running Bosky and, the stress of seeing the numbers of what you have in the bank versus salary and things like that. Broadway, like knowing what it takes to capitalize a Broadway show, publishing, like, getting a deal with Simon & Schuster for my memoir and working with this crazy Todd Gold guy who co-wrote Drew Barrymore's Little Girl Lost. He wrote Anne Margaret's memoir. Like he has such amazing stories that I have to pull out of him. He was embedded with Michael Jackson in the 80s in Japan, and then embedded with Madonna in London also in the 80s. He shows me photos of him with Bubbles the chimp. Like the dude's like, it's crazy. Sitting down at a piano with Anne Margaret and she's playing piano and singing next to him, like that kind of stuff. But yeah, and the big thing about the memoir is, I have until January to finish it. We're 40,000 words in. It's like I said, it's like facing Dark Link. It's fighting yourself and your wins and your losses. I'm not always the hero of it. I was a piece of crap in my prior relationships. And I'm gonna just put it all out there, and it's kind of terrifying to do that, dude.
So we're gonna have coming up very, very soon in just a few minutes. We're gonna have a special performance by DJ Cupcakes, spinning the platters that matter, and then we're gonna get to LDShadowLady. My apologies to Lizzie, waiting very patiently back in the green room. I know we're going long. Don't blame me. Blame my guests. Blame Tom Nichols. Blame Cliff Bleszinski for being so damn interesting. There's nothing I can do about it. I just gotta keep talking to these guys.
Call me Blathers.
Yeah, he just won't stop talking. Okay, but just one last question.
Blamed for everything else in the world.
Yeah, why not? I mean, you have kind of brought it on yourself, Tom. Let's be fair. We're gonna get to Lizzie in just a moment, but Cliffy, before we wrap up, I just want to ask you one more question because you've touched on it, kind of where you are at in your life right now. You're kind of temporarily, at least, retired from the games industry. You're now a restaurateur. You're an author. You've got a book on the way. You're a Broadway theater producer. You're doing all this really new and very interesting stuff. But like I'm sure what people in the chat, because they're here on Twitch, they're here in Animal Crossing, want to hear most about is, do you have that itch to return to games one day? You talked about if you did it, it would be in the form of like a little indie game, something perhaps not less ambitious, but like maybe easier, to control and make something really special. Are we gonna see Cliff Bleszinski back in the world of games anytime?
I wouldn't say soon. I do have a new IP that I'm formulating on. I also have a script I'm working on for maybe a show or a movie or something like that. Thanks for the advice on the screenwriting software, by the way. But yeah, I have a new IP that I've been noodling on. I don't want to go into too much detail, but I don't know if it makes sense as a game or maybe a graphic novel. My brother wrote some Transformers comics about Devastator that wound up getting published by IDW recently. So if he can do it, I can do it. But the way that I work generally is I start with the character, I start with the world, and then I work outward from that, and then I kind of figure out the game mechanics. But I have the document sitting on my desktop, and the best way that I work is to have multiple plates spinning. So I alternate between working on the memoir, working on the new IP, working on play, and then just, randomly at the end of the night writing some sort of short story and then printing it out and orating it to my wife in the kitchen after a little bit of wine. And
I'm gonna make a prediction right here on the show based on how well I know you, Cliffy. You'll be back. You can't leave this stuff alone. You love it too much.
I do love it, but at the same time, I hope I never have to argue with a programmer ever again, because programmers are the ultimate contrarians.
I hear you. And yes, absolutely.
The kings of mansplaining,
Cliffy, thank you so much for being a wonderful guest on the show. You're not going anywhere. You're going to stick around. In fact, something rather odd is now going to happen. Your character is going to transform back into DJ Cupcakes, and I'm going to get out of her way so that she can get over to the turntable here, because we have a special DJ set coming up. I'm going to allow DJ Cupcakes to transition over here. In fact, I'm going to come over here so we can get a good look. I don't know if DJ Cupcakes is going to wand back into a different outfit or anything like that. Yep, here comes the wand. Here comes the wand. Let's see what she turns into. Very excited to see what this is going to be. She's thinking about it. What's it going to be? Or not, I don't know. She's just standing there now. Maybe we're just going to go with it with the wand out like this. I'm going to mute the jukebox. I'm going to turn down the lights. DJ Cupcakes is our resident house DJ.
Apparently you can't be there when she wands. You gotta move away.
I have to move away? All right, let me move away. Okay, all right, I'm going to move away over here. I'm going to take the camera off her. She can wand off screen. Hold on, how can I get her out of the screen here? Go away. Okay. All right, feel free to wand. Feel free to transform. Can you now transform, DJ Cupcakes? Is this going to work? Let me know when she's transformed, because I can't see her.
Okay, I will let you know.
Okay.
I think so. Maybe. Yes.
Has she transformed?
She has transformed.
All right, back we go. That's the DJ Cupcakes I love to see. There she is. DJ Cupcakes is actually, in fact, my 7-year-old daughter, who desperately wanted to be on the show today because she is a big LDShadowLady fan, and she really specifically requested to do a special DJ set just for LDShadowLady. So please sit back and enjoy the DJ stylings of our resident house DJ Cupcakes. DJ Cupcakes. DJ Cupcakes absolutely killing it. Absolutely crushing it. What a straight up banger of a track. I really particularly enjoyed that that needle drop there. That was one hell of a drop. That was a very, very special performance for a very, very special guest. I'm very, very excited to invite our next guest onto the show. Let's be honest, the whole reason she's here is because my daughter is just a big fan, and if this show exists for one reason, it's to put a smile on the faces of my wife and daughter, and I think we're definitely doing that right now. Oh, she's get pick up the stairs. She can help herself. Adam, why does everybody miss their mark? They just can't wait to get on the stairs. Let's
exciting.
You know, we've made her wait way too long. Way too long. Please welcome to the show, LDShadowLady. Take a seat, Lizzie. Come take a seat.
I'd love to. Thank
There
you.
you go. There you go. There you go. You know what I should do also, Adam? Let's move out of the way so that DJ Cupcakes, aka Cliffy B, can also come back and join us here. Let's move over here, and if we just want to move, I'm gonna go off the screen. Let me get her off the screen. Hold on, 1 second. I need you to move so I can get you off the screen. Hold on a second. All right, here we go. Wand back into your Cliffy B persona. Have you done that? Has she changed? Yes. Okay. Very good. Very good. Okay. All right. Good. So Cliffy B. And Tom has very politely moved down onto the third chair. Thank you very much. Now we got everyone situated. There we go. LDShadowLady, Lizzie, thank you so much for joining us on the show. And I'm so sorry for keeping you waiting so long, but I know that you are worth waiting for.
Oh, well, thanks for having me. I just gotta say, I love the musical stylings.
Oh my God, she's going to be so thrilled to hear that. She is seriously like your number one, and I'm not even kidding. I know you've got some big fans, but I feel confident in saying that my daughter, the 7-year-old DJ Cupcakes, is the biggest fan of yours. She watches your videos incessantly. Here's what happened. I put out, my daughter loves to play Minecraft, and she wanted to get into the world of watching Minecraft YouTubers. But I know there's a lot of, YouTube can be a bit dodgy. I wanted to make sure she found a kid-friendly channel. I sent up a flare on YouTube a few months ago. Who's a good kid-friendly Minecraft YouTuber that my kid would enjoy watching and is totally wholesome and safe? And one name came back above the rest: LDShadowLady. You gotta get her tuned in to LDShadowLady. And Lizzie, I gotta say, I don't know if I love you or hate you right now, because my God, you have taken over my house. All I hear around my house is LDShadowLady said this, LDShadowLady did that. But you've been an inspiration to her. She is creating all this amazing stuff in Minecraft, and it's all thanks to you. So thank you for bringing such joy and such creativity into my daughter's life. Thank you.
Well, I can only apologize that you have to listen to my voice all the time, but I'm glad I'm able to have some positive effect in some way.
You've had you should see some of the stuff that my kid creates now. It's very much inspired by your creations. She watches one of your videos and then goes off and tries to kind of recreate the things that you have done. And I think it's absolutely wonderful. I think one of the reasons why she likes you, Lizzie, is that because I've watched hours and hours of your channel, whether I want to or not. I've watched hours and hours of your channel, and I must say, I think one of the reasons that she loves you is you seem to get up to a lot of mischief on your channel. You seem to specialize in pranks and mischief and just getting up to no good. I think that's what my daughter responds to.
Yeah, I like a bit of cheeky behavior on Minecraft. Kind of the one place you can get away with being a bit evil, and everyone just writes it off as, oh, it's just a fun prank. But that's how I get all my nefarious deeds out into the world. I'm
gonna kick something off right now. I'm gonna mute the jukebox again, and we're gonna go over to show a clip. Lizzie sent over. I said, send me a clip that demonstrates what your channel is all about. Just a quick clip. And she sent this channel. Here's a little clip from LDShadowLady's YouTube channel.
Now, in order to attack the tropical island, I'm going to need ships. Many ships. Let's gather up all the wood I can find and start building my fleet. So if his base is on this side of the island, then I will position my ships over there. And I want them to look super intimidating, so when he looks across the sea, he'll be really scared. And so my epic quest began, to build the greatest naval fleet the Kingdom Craft server had ever seen. And actually it was kind of hard, so I thought maybe just the one boat, actually. Behold, my naval fleet! This is embarrassing.
I'm literally laughing through that clip because it's so your particular brand of comedy and antics and mischief you get up onto the channel. I know it's very kid friendly, but I'm 47 years old and I'm still kind of giggling away like a 7-year-old watching your clips. Lizzie, I always like to do this with my guests. I want to take you back to the beginning. You found success as a YouTuber. You're a massive YouTuber. You have so many followers. You have a really super duper popular channel, and you found success at a very young age. And you started even younger. You were 18 when you first started messing around on YouTube and playing games?
Yeah, I mean, I've had a YouTube account probably since I was about 14. That was when I first discovered YouTube, and I've been through all the phases. I made little music videos with my friends, and I wrote little plays, and we would act them out. So I had channels like that, but it wasn't until I found gaming that I found something I really enjoyed and that I was somewhat good at.
And this can't be what you expected to do with your life when you were growing up. When you were a little kid, what did you want to be growing up? There's no way you said, I want to be a Minecraft YouTuber. So like what were your aspirations when you were growing up before YouTube mega success kind of got in the way?
Well, I wanted to be a teacher. I thought that it would be really kind of a rewarding thing to be able to go into a classroom every day and, you know, teach people things that they didn't already know. And I did pursue that. I went to uni, I finished uni, but by the time I was finished with uni, YouTube had kind of taken off. So I decided to continue with the whole YouTube thing. And even, you know, when I was starting my YouTube channel, I didn't think it would become what it is today. Hence the terrible username that is just not catchy at all. I don't know how it's stuck with me, and, you know, I can't get rid of it now. It's kind of just part of who I am. But if I could go back in time, I would have chosen definitely a more catchy username.
I mean, it doesn't seem to have held you back. You're doing just fine on YouTube from what I can tell. Now, what's interesting is you told me when we chatted before the show that you actually started out, your first experiences streaming and playing games on YouTube was actually playing Call of Duty, which is like as far away from Minecraft as I can imagine. But like I think you said like you weren't very good and you got tired of getting shot in the head. And was it that Minecraft was like you just wanted to play something that was more chill and more relaxing? Like how did you discover Minecraft?
Yeah, so I think when I started with the Call of Duty channel, the reason that I'd started with that was because that was the game that I was playing at the time, and YouTube has and will always be a passion for me. So I always want it to reflect things that I'm enjoying at the time. So any new games that aren't Minecraft that I do on my channel, I usually play them because I've just discovered them and I absolutely love them and I throw myself into them and I think I have to share this with the world, which is at the time how I felt about Call of Duty. I thought, you know, my sniper montages were just something the world needed to see. And it wasn't until I kind of realized that I was actually really bad at Call of Duty. These sniper montages should be hidden from view and never seen again. And I found Minecraft purely by chance. It was just starting to blow up at the time. I think it was early 2011. And there were maybe a couple of people playing Minecraft on YouTube, some Let's Players. It was it was in its infancy back then. There were no edited videos, no huge multiplayer servers and modded Let's Players or anything like that. So I was just a viewer when I initially found Minecraft, and I was pursuing I wanted to be on this server that this guy called Zach Scott ran, and he had all his friends on there, and I was just watching the videos. And one day he asked if he could get some more British people on his server, and I volunteered myself as a British person to join the server, and what do you know, he accepted me, and that was kind of my fate sealed from then on. I became a Minecraft channel.
It's funny, you and I actually started our YouTube careers in different ways. I mean, they're now in very different places. You're super duper popular. I'm trying to scrape together a few thousand subscribers over here. But when I first started my YouTube channel, it was I hosted my sad PUBG clips on there, which nobody watched. They were very bad and very sad, and I don't know why. I mean, still make them. I'm just going to unlist them all because they're quite embarrassing. Literally every time I got a kill in PUBG, I was so thrilled. I would record it and post it to YouTube because they were so few and far between.
You guys have an advantage with those nice British accents.
Yeah, you know, it comes in handy. It can come in handy. Lizzie, and you recently hit a very, very big milestone. You recently celebrated 5 million subscribers to your channel.
Yeah, I mean, where did all these people come from? I don't know, because, you know, I just sit in my room and play games, and it doesn't feel real when they're just kind of graphics displayed on a screen, because you can't see 5 million people. You know, I don't go and do concerts, I don't do tours where I see people. I occasionally have meet and greets, and even that is a small fraction of the people that have actually chosen to subscribe to me over the time. And I remember hitting 1 million, and then I thought, gosh, I never thought this would happen. This is insane. My life has peaked here. It's never going to get better than this. And to tell me, you know, 4 years later or so that I'd be hitting 5 million subscribers is just really hard to comprehend.
You told me when we spoke before that you were a little bit slow on the uptake, that you were becoming a big deal. Like you almost kind of crept up on you, the fact that, oh wow, like a lot of people are watching my channel, and maybe this is something I could actually do. Like you didn't set out to become a big star. It kind of happened in such a gradual way that like you just woke up one morning like, oh wow, like I'm a big deal. Is that right?
Well, I would say stardom or fame is something I've never really wanted. And with YouTube, obviously, it is it was just a hobby at first, and it was while I was at university that my channel went from maybe 100,000 subscribers at the start of university, and in the UK we go to university for 3 years, and by the end of that time I was just about reaching 1 million subscribers. So all throughout university I kind of had the struggle of, do I continue with my degree and fully focus on my degree, or do I pursue YouTube full time and take advantage of this opportunity while it's there? But I decided to finish my degree because I wasn't entirely sure how long YouTube would last, because you never really know. I mean, even today, it could end tomorrow. It just changed so quickly on the platform, and somebody that's flying high in April gets shot down in May.
Oh wow, Frank Sinatra reference. That is very cool, Izzy. I'm impressed by the old school Sinatra call out there.
Yeah, I come out with some unexpected things sometimes. It helps for the video. But yeah, I wasn't sure. I had a lot of people around me that were telling me, they were saying, "What are you doing? Why are you still at university? You need to drop out and pursue YouTube full time. You need to put all your energy into this." And like you said, I was kind of slow on the uptake. But it did mean that when I came out of university, when I finished, I had a YouTube channel that was waiting for me, that had 1 million subscribers, that I was pretty confident would remain successful for at least a short while. And so I kind of just left both options open to me. And obviously I decided to pursue YouTube for a while, and so far I'm still doing that, still what I want to be doing. So that's what I'll continue doing for the foreseeable future.
I'm going to show a little clip. You recently posted a video to YouTube. I'm going to mute the jukebox again, because you recently did just post a video to YouTube, and I thought this was really clever what you did. You basically took a lot of your kind of career milestones and recreated them in Minecraft as part of your 5 million subscriber celebration. I'm going to drop the link to the whole 20-minute video into the chat in just a moment, but I'm just going to show like just the opening little bit here. You just look so happy and so delighted. I just wanted to share this with my viewers. Here's Lizzie. Here's LDShadowLady celebrating 5 million subscribers.
Hey guys, what's up? LDShadowLady here, and today we are celebrating 5 million subscribers. Thank you so much if you are one of the people that has subscribed to my channel, whether you are a veteran Shadow Cadet or if you just found my channel yesterday. I really appreciate all of your support, not just from subscribing, but also watching all of my videos, commenting on them, leaving likes and suggestions. I know some of you also make fan art and fan edits, and it's so nice to see that we have such a lovely community of creative and kind people. And now there are 5 million. So I thought to celebrate this huge milestone, I would hop into a Minecraft world and build the entire history of my channel in Minecraft. So
I think that's super, super cool. I love that. And I'm gonna drop the entire 20-minute video into chat right now, because you know what, Lizzie, only 599,000 people have watched that so far, so clearly you would benefit from a little bit of a boost. I'm putting that into the chat right now. Do everything I can on this show, to help baby streamers build their audience.
I appreciate that. Thank you.
One of the things that I noticed you called them, was it LD Shadow Cadets? Is that what you call your fans, your followers?
Yes. Shadow Cadets.
Now, what I love about your channel, and why I'm happy to have my daughter watch so much of it, is not only do you have a nice channel, but I think when you have a nice channel and you do wholesome content, you also have a very, very nice community. There are many of your fans in the chat right now who are super supportive of you. They're being super nice. What is the secret to fostering a good community? Have you put a lot of time and effort into thinking about how to cultivate the kind of community and the kind of followers that you want?
Honestly, I wish I could say that I had done it on purpose and I knew exactly how to do it, but I just think the people that watch my channel, I think it was maybe the first few that kind of started the community, and they were a bunch of good eggs, and maybe they kind of shared their ways with all the other people that started joining in the community, because I didn't have a lot of input, I guess, as far as I'm aware. Maybe subconsciously I did, but I think the most important thing for me was how I conduct myself online, and to make sure that I'm being a good role model for how we should all treat each other online. And if I did see any behavior that was unsavory in my community, I would kind of quietly try and help that. I wouldn't try and draw too much attention to it, because I know if you do that as well, that another thing that can happen is that becomes kind of the attention-seeking behavior, and you're rewarding that attention seeking. So that's another really important factor for me, was that if somebody was being a bad egg in the community, is I wouldn't reward that. I would just kind of keep rewarding and encouraging the nice behavior of people helping each other out and creating the fan edits, and people really, somebody will post a fan edit of some pictures of me, and all the other people that run the fan accounts will go to that post and they'll really cheer them on and say, oh, you're doing a great job, like this is really cool, I hope she sees this. They're not tearing each other down, they're building each other up and they're helping each other. And I think that's just the nicest thing to see about the community, and I wish I could take credit for that, but honestly it's not me, it's them.
I just want to say as a quick aside here, as you know, when we have more than two guests on the show, I have to pull the kind of camera out to this kind of God's eye view to get everyone here. And I just want to say, Adam, isn't this amazing what we do here on Animal Talking? I mean, we bring guests here from all walks of life, from all over the world. Right now, we've got me sitting here in San Francisco. You're over there behind the drums, but you're actually in Canada. LDShadowLady is on the couch, but she's actually in Northern England. We've got Cliffy B here from North Carolina. Tom, where are you in Washington, D.C.? Where exactly are you, Tom Nichols? Is he?
Where exactly are you, Tom Nichols?
Where is Tom Nichols?
Up in space.
Has he disappeared? Is he still here? Has he wandered off? Right now he's
Sorry, I'm still here. I'm here. No, I am in an undisclosed location.
Oh, it's a secret bunker.
I'm actually in Rhode Island, which is kind of like being in a secret bunker. It's this place in between New York and Boston. So that's where the Naval War College is. I'm actually right on the shoreline in beautiful Rhode Island, right near the ocean.
Tom, as I sit here with the wonderful Lizzie talking about Minecraft and YouTube and stuff like that, is this fascinating to you, or do we just sound like the teacher from Peanuts right now? Wah, 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 wah.
I'm fascinated by it. I totally get it. I don't play Minecraft, but I know what it is. Mostly I was concentrating on the fact that Lizzie got a cool halo and I got asked why 1 billion people hate me.
Well, Tom, if you conducted yourself on Twitter more like Lizzie here, you might have a halo by now.
Well, I know, and the next thing I thought was, and I have brought this on myself.
You don't see Lizzie going around slagging off Indian food and Led Zeppelin. That's why she's got 5 million followers.
I just want to know why I look like a SoundCloud rapper.
Because you know why, Cliffy? Because your Wi-Fi sucks.
It's a big house, Gary.
That's the only reason we had to step in for you at the last second here, Lizzie, LDShadowLady. You mentioned it. It's interesting because you kind of preempted one of my questions. You said you never set out to be famous, but whether you like it or not, you're a celebrity in the Minecraft world. Do you enjoy that part of it? When you go to conventions, you must get mobbed, right? You're a super VIP when you go to gaming conventions or Minecraft events, things like that. Are you comfortable with that? Do you like being famous?
Well, I mean, I don't mind it in very, very small doses. So I think I will do about 2 or 3 conventions a year, maybe, where, we go and it's kind of special to be treated that way. You get called the talent and you get escorted around by some big bodyguards, and you get code names and all this kind of stuff, and it is really nice to be able to meet fans in that setting, because it's very safe, and that is really the only place I feel comfortable doing huge meet and greets, places like that, and surrounded by other people who also get called the talent. It's a very surreal experience for somebody that grew up in Northern England, in a small town somewhere that this was not on my plan, really, but it is a very niche sort of fame that it is only when I go to these conventions. If I want to go shopping with my husband, we can go and do our groceries in our sweatpants and nobody knows who we are, and that's perfect, because I don't think I could deal with the kind of fame where people are taking pictures of you and judging what you're wearing all the time. And
it's the best kind of fame.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, I often when I go to conventions, I often call it celebrity fantasy camp, because I'm not famous in the real world either. But when I go to a comic book convention or a sci-fi type event, like those are very specifically the people who know who I am. And so for like 48 hours, you do get to experience what it's like being kind of famous. But it's lovely that when the 48 hours is over, you get to flip that switch back off again and go back to your normal life.
Yeah, like Taylor Swift does it.
How does Taylor Swift do it?
Seriously.
It is weird to be recognized in public if you're not that kind of person. The first time it happened to me, it totally freaked me out.
Oh, was it someone who likes Indian food or someone who likes Led Zeppelin?
Nice callback.
It was somebody in a restaurant, though, who said, "Are you Tom Nichols?" And the first thing that came out of my mouth was, "Do I owe you money?"
By the way, Adam, you know who does owe me money? Mary Kish from Twitch.
Oh my God.
She came on my show, and she was a very nice guest, but then on the way out, she shook my money trees, stole my bells, and bragged about it on my bulletin board, and she won't give me the money back. I talked to her yesterday. She's not giving it back. She's proud of what she's done.
She has zero remorse.
She should be ashamed of herself. I'm going to bring it up every show until I get my money back. I want those bells. I'm not going to forget about it, Adam. Lizzie, well, of all the wonderful things that Minecraft has given you, you've got this amazing career as a YouTuber. You also met your husband thanks to Minecraft. Tell me how that happened.
I did, yeah. So we went to a gaming convention. We both happened to find ourselves attending a gaming convention with a group of friends. I think there were about 8 of us, and we were all somehow loosely connected, as is the way with the internet. You know somebody that knows somebody that knows somebody, and you all end up at a convention together. And it was really the first ever YouTuber gaming convention, I think, that there really was in the UK. It was called Game Fest in 2011. And it's actually really funny if you look back, because so many of the people that were in that group now, they're all doing very different things now, but they're all somewhere in the space. And it's kind of funny to look back and you see somebody that you would think would otherwise be unconnected to myself. And then it's like, no, we went to Game Fest together, and that we go back years and years. So I met Joel there. I didn't know who he was beforehand. I just knew that it was a bunch of YouTubers, and when we met, we just clicked, and he was actually a good Call of Duty channel. So I think honestly, meeting him might have been the final nail in the coffin for me, just stopping my Call of Duty uploads, because I realized just how terrible I was in comparison to his skill.
And now you two are not only married, but you play together, right? You at Smallish Beans is his name in the game. You and Smallish Beans are always running around on your channel, getting up to no good together.
Yes, I managed to convince him to turn to the light side. I wouldn't describe Minecraft as the dark side, really, but I turned him on to Minecraft instead of Call of Duty. He kind of jumped ship from that game and entered the Minecraft space, and I honestly love it so much. It's great because we get to work on the same thing, so we understand the industry, and if something is happening, I don't have to go home and explain to him the intricacies of my job, because he already knows them, he already understands. So it's really great to be able to work with him. So we both work from home though, so that can be difficult sometimes, but it meant we were already ready for this whole lockdown thing. We've got this completely sorted. This is not even any different for us.
Do you get on each other's nerves?
Oh, yeah, I think probably about as much as any normal couple would, but I feel like now we've gotten into our groove in terms of working from home together and working on similar projects. We know how to stay out of each other's way when we've had enough of each other, so we try not to get on each other's nerves.
So Lizzie, you've obviously enjoyed just incredible success as a YouTuber, as a Minecraft player. 5 million subscribers. I mean, that really is remarkable. And who knows? The sky's the limit. I think you'll be posting a 10 million subscriber celebration before too much longer. Having learned everything that you've learned in your long YouTube career, looking back, I'm seeing a bunch of people in the chat right now saying, "Oh, I started my own channel because I was inspired by LDShadowLady, or I want to do that because I see what LDShadowLady's doing." What advice would you give to young up and coming YouTubers like me and Adam? By the way, we're up and coming. What advice would you give to people who are looking to make a career, or even just a hobby, just get started playing games like Minecraft online on Twitch and on YouTube and building a following? What are some of your top tips, things that you've learned?
I guess I would say that you need to find your niche, and that isn't always the first thing to try. As we know from my short stint in the Call of Duty sphere, not necessarily the thing that you think you want to do at first, that might not be what you're necessarily the best at, or the thing that you can do something new with. Another big thing is you need to find something that is your take on something that is potentially already popular, even if you should come up with something completely different. If you're just doing Fortnite videos, for example, how can you make them your own, and how can you bring something new to it? For example, what you're doing here with the talk show, how many talk shows are there on YouTube and Twitch? Probably quite a few, but how many of them are set in Animal Crossing? This is your niche, and you've brought something new to it that wasn't here before, and it's really important if you are trying to take off on YouTube or Twitch, that you have to find something like that.
Yeah, they call it in the business world. They call it what is the USP? What is the unique selling point? What do you have that no one else has? Let me ask. So, and again, I feel like you're still learning, right? You've been doing this now for 10 years, but like the real pros, they never stop learning. Are you still learning every day? Like, are you still trying to figure out ways to kind of make the channel better and more interesting?
Yeah, I definitely am. I think over the years I've tried a lot of different things because like I said, I've been playing this Minecraft for 10 years now, so things can get a little bit repetitive, and I think it is important to challenge yourself and try and do new things. I think a couple of years ago I decided to have a go at making my own mods for the game so that I could have more input in decorating the world that I'm in and the mobs I can take, because I absolutely love taming animals in Minecraft, and Minecraft is just not adding mobs or animals to tame at the rate at which I wish they would. So I was like, well, I'm just going to add my own. So that was quite a fun kind of project to get started in, and that was a huge challenge though, but it was really fun, and I enjoyed that, and it brought a whole new kind of perspective to me for how to look at my channel, and I would say I definitely learned from that experience.
One of the things
it takes a lot more time to develop things than it looks like from the outside.
One of the things that I thought was fascinating about your channel, Lizzie, because I looked at your About page, and I noticed that you have found all this incredible success, while at the same time going against the grain of like one of the central pieces of wisdom. When I first got my Twitch partner manager and I got partnered, I said, what can I do to grow my audience? And the first thing he says was stream on a regular schedule. And I was like, I don't want to do that, because as soon as I stream on a regular schedule, as opposed to whenever I feel like it, it's going to start to feel like a job or a chore instead of something I just want to do. And maybe that's limited me. Yeah, we have a regular schedule here on Animal Talking, but it's already killing me. I'm already scaling it back. You built this massive audience, but you don't post your videos on a regular schedule. For the same reason, you just kind of do it when you feel like it.
Yeah, honestly, I'm pretty notorious for doing that. I'll disappear from YouTube for weeks at a time sometimes, and it does really annoy some of my viewers, and I completely understand why that ability, because they're so used to all of the other YouTubers that they watch being so consistent. And I'm just awful at it. I'm always quite open about it though. I will always say, like, YouTube for me, I still want to enjoy doing it at the end of the day, and I don't want to get this burnout that so many YouTubers talk about, and I don't ever want YouTube to become a chore to me or something that I hate doing or drive it into the ground. So for me, it's important to just post when I have a good idea, and sometimes they are a little more few between than I'd like, but when I do get the inspiration, I am very motivated, and I feel like it does lead to better videos. I
got to ask you, I mean, you've had tremendous success for really 10 years, not just the 5 million subscribers, but the longevity. 10 years is way longer than most YouTubers and streamers are able to stick it out. Obviously, you started at a young age. How far into the future do you imagine this being your career? Are we going to see Grandma LDShadowLady running around with little LD Shadow grandkids far into the future, or do you imagine at some point you'll just jack it all in and do something different with your life?
I actually have no idea. There are quite a few things that I would like to try in my life, and although YouTube is amazing, it does take all of your time out of your day. It's a huge commitment. So I don't know if I'll be doing it forever, but I definitely want to be gaming when I'm a grandma, for sure. I don't ever want to stop gaming, but will I be posting on YouTube every day for the rest of my life? Probably not.
I want to ask you about Animal Crossing, and in fact, I'm going to copy this right into the chat right now. I notice you've actually done some very cool Animal Crossing Minecraft crossover videos where you've kind of been recreating Animal Crossing stuff in Minecraft. Obviously, you're here with your own Animal Crossing character. How are you enjoying Animal Crossing? Is it going to be the new obsession? Is it going to take over Minecraft, or are you going to just play both together?
I'm really enjoying Animal Crossing. Particularly, I'm enjoying it for streaming. I feel like it's a really chilled out game that it doesn't ask too much of you, and there's just about enough that you can do that gives you some direction to follow, with the achievements, visiting people's islands and collecting things. But it also, it doesn't require you to do it on any kind of strict time scale, so you can really take your time with it, and that's perfect for me for streaming. I prefer something different for my videos with Minecraft, where I can be a little bit more, it's a little bit more sandboxy. I can be a little bit more creative with it, but I absolutely love Animal Crossing. I'm struggling really hard not to just play it all the time in my free time, because I want to make sure I'm streaming it so that people get to share the experience with me, and I don't get too far ahead in the game off stream, but that's difficult.
Lizzie, you've been an absolutely wonderful guest. I'm so glad you came on the show. I originally did this just to cheer my daughter up and give her something, because we're all locked up in quarantine. She misses her friends. She loves LDShadowLady. You really, really have been a great source of comfort and joy to her during the pandemic. So thank you for that. But I'm thrilled that I booked you anyway, because you've really cheered me up as well. You've been a wonderful guest. Tom and Cliffy, you've been all right as well. But LDShadowLady, clearly the star of the show here. Just absolutely delightful. It is the part of the show now where we do ask everyone to step up and tell a joke. Now, we don't have our microphone right now because the DJ booth is taking over the area here. But I'm going to invite each of you in turn, and please, go in whatever order you like, to step up here onto the Nook leaf mat here that we have in front of the desk, and regale us all. We're going to ask each of you to do this in turn. Regale us all with a joke. And I told you all ahead of time, you got to bring a joke, so no excuses. Please go ahead. Who's going to go first? Who wants to tell us a joke?
Honestly, maybe I'll go first, and then hopefully people will have forgotten it by the time we get around to it.
Go ahead, Lizzie. The floor is yours.
Okay. What's brown and sticky?
I don't know what is brown and sticky.
A stick.
All right, it's a classic. It's a classic, Adam. We're starting with a classic. Cliffy, why don't you step up and tell us a joke? Leah will maneuver your understudy avatar into position here. Cliffy B, take it away.
If you ever told me that the old editor of PC Gamer would be doing a virtual talk show in 2020 with his kid piloting the avatar of me, it would be insane. Okay,
it's my wife. It's my wait. I actually don't know who's doing it right now. It's my daughter's avatar, but I don't know if Leah or my daughter is. Either way. Cliffy B, tell us a joke.
Yeah, I went out to the street the other day, and we had a lot of rain, and there was a lot of mud, and I was checking the mail, and I was, of course, social distancing, and this truck went by, and with huge tires, and just sprayed mud all over my shoes. So the only guy that I know to get shoes from right now is my drug dealer. So I went and got some shoes from him, and I'll tell you, I don't know what he laced them with, but I was tripping all day.
Oh my God.
All right. Okay.
Oh,
all right.
wow.
All right. I'm taking it.
What a journey, Cliff.
Yeah, that was a lot. It was a long road to that punchline. Tom, your avatar is going to be stepped up to the plate here, and when we're in position, here he comes, Professor Tom Nichols, serious intellectual and academic. Please regale us with your joke.
Well, since I did the whole thing about the Russia expert thing, I'm bringing you a joke imported from the old Soviet Union that they used to tell in Russia.
All right, let's hear it. I love it. Let's hear it.
So Gorbachev goes to visit Reagan, and Reagan, to impress him, takes him to the Oval Office and shows him this red phone, and he picks it up and he calls hell, and he talks to the devil. And he says, check that out. And he hands it to Gorbachev, and Gorbachev's just blown away. Reagan hangs up the phone, and the phone rings back, and Gorbachev hears the White House operator say, that'll be $3 million, please. And Reagan says, bill it to the White House. Gorbachev goes back to Moscow. He says, I got to have me one of these phones. Reagan has one of these phones. I've got to have one. So they call in all these Soviet engineers. They sink a big hole. They put this red phone in. Gorbachev calls all his colleagues in. He says, watch this. And he picks up this phone, and he calls hell, and he calls the devil. And everybody's real impressed. He hangs up the phone rings back, and it's the Kremlin operator saying, that'll be 5 kopecks, please. Gorbachev says, sure, charge it to the Kremlin. And just before he hangs up, he says, hey, wait a minute. How come Reagan calls it's $3 million? I call it's 5 kopecks. And the operator says, well, over there, it's long distance. Here, it's just a local call.
All right. Okay. All right. I can see how that would be very popular in Soviet Russia, in the Soviet Union.
I figured, I was going to bring a knock-knock joke, and I just can't compare. I mean, I already lost on the other two, so I said I got to bring
knock jokes are very popular around here. Adam, would you like to do one since you're here?
Just so you know, I know you're asking me specifically because you want to do one. So
no, you don't have to do it. I'll do mine. Should I do mine?
Yeah, I know you have one lined up that you've been waiting to tell.
Well, it's not like I'm champing at the bit to tell it, but I did learn a joke over the weekend, and I do feel bad. A friend of mine told me this joke over the weekend, and I often feel bad that everyone else steps up to the joke, and I, as the host of the show, don't. So I'm gonna, and I know you're all gonna say it's terrible and whatever. I don't care. I'm the host. You're all here to beat me up. It's fine. I'm telling a joke. All right, you ready? You ready for my joke?
Go nuts.
All right. A drum set with a full set of cymbals and everything falls over the edge of a cliff. Badum-tish.
Okay.
No.
I'll go.
Okay. All right.
Soviet Union.
Yeah. I think that joke would go down well in the Soviet Union as well, Tom. All right. Okay, Adam, let's hear it. We're going to do full house, 5 jokes. Come on, we're waiting.
What did the secret agent cow say to the other?
Oh my God, I don't know.
Are you undercover?
Thank God you told that joke, Adam. I honestly thought I was going to have the worst one, but you pulled it out at the end. The poll is up at the top of the chat. You have 1 minute to vote. Who had the best joke? Either Lizzie, Cliffy, Tom, Gary, or Adam. Yes, I'm sitting there on 0 votes. Saw that coming. Thank you very much. Lizzie, of course.
It was for me to find a family-friendly joke that's still in my head. That says something about me. So
I thank you, and the good people at Nintendo thank you. Lizzie is running. You know, I'm going to vote for Lizzie's joke because it was. I'm not going to. I usually vote for myself, and I'm clearly coming in last place here. Lizzie, not only a delightful guest, but the funniest guest we've had with a very good joke. Cliffy in second place. It looks like Tom in third. Adam in fourth, and of course me, Gary the host, dead last. I get it. You're all here to beat up on me. It's fine. I'm not offended. I don't care. It's all good.
I'm just getting respectful pity votes.
And there it is. The vote is closed. Lizzie with 42% of the vote. Absolutely crushed it. Thank you, Lizzie. Congratulations.
Thank you.
Another 5 million subscribers 1 week. Funniest joke on Animal Talking the next. The sky really is the limit for you here on the internet. There's nothing can stop you at this point. I would like you now this is going to be tricky because I think there's only not everyone here is controlling their own character. We have some puppeteering going on, but I am going to invite you all. Lizzie, I believe I gave you a gift before the show, and I would like to invite you to open that gift right now, and Cliffy and Tom as well. It's not going to be much use to you, Tom, as you don't play Animal Crossing, but please take it with our compliments anyway. That's the party popper, Lizzie. Did you open the gift?
Yes,
there you
I
go.
accidentally erupted.
You popped off in my face, but that's okay.
Sorry.
That's okay. I don't mind. You're welcome to do that.
I'm biting my tongue right now.
Let me see here. Where's my party popper? I gotta get this going here. I'm gonna hold it. I'm gonna hold my popper.
All those gifts Gary has in his inventory.
Those are gifts for future guests on the show. And since you mentioned it, don't forget, coming up on Wednesday's show, Wednesday night, we do have a very big show. Writer-director Duncan Jones will be here. We fixed his audio from his last disastrous performance on the show. He's going to be back with bells on. Duncan's going to be back on the show Wednesday night. We got his Discord all fixed up. We figured out what the problem was. Comedian Paul Scheer is going to be here. He plays Animal Crossing. He's no faker. He's the real deal. He'll be bringing his own character over to the beautiful sun-kissed island of Kauai. And, of course, one of my favorite streamers on Twitch, freestyle lyricist, the Dapper Rapper, will be here as our musical guest on Wednesday night as well. But for right now, there goes Tom with his party popper. I want to thank you. I want to thank everyone for all my guests, Professor Tom Nichols, Cliff Bleszinski, LDShadowLady. Thank you so much for joining me on the show. For me, for Adam Nickerson, for Leah Witter, for Kate Stark, all of our moderators, thank you so much for joining us on the show. We'll see you all back here Wednesday night. We really couldn't do it without you. We love you all. If anyone still has a party popper, please detonate it now. Oh, these goddamn lights, Adam. I gotta fix these lights. I have to I'm taking that light down right after the show. There we go. There is the party popper. Thank you so much. We'll see you all next time.
Thanks for having me, buddy.